Meanwhile, Boeing is front and center on Capitol Hill today. Safety officials and whistleblowers testifying about safety issues with Boeing aircraft in separate hearings. One of those whistleblowers, Sam Salehpour, a quality engineer, spoke out on what he saw during assembly and warned about the implications.
I literally saw people jumping on the pieces of the airplane to get them to align. I call it the Tarzan effect. They're using significant, excessive force to squash the gaps before you measure it. If you squash in the gap before you measure it, you don't know what you're getting. If you get the gap measured falsely, you are not going to shim it properly, and it's a danger to the airplane. It's very, very important. Boeing has put out reports that they say that they can lose almost 80% of the airplane life cycle if we don't follow these protocols.
Our Alexis Keenan has been following the hearings and is here with more. So that was just one clip that seemed alarming, right? What's your impression overall of what we've heard so far?
So we had a couple hearings today, and this one was with Salehpour and other whistleblowers who had been connected to the 737 MAX crashes. They are sounding an alarm. Salehpour here saying that he raised to the vice president of engineering level at Boeing, that's Lisa Fall. He said that he wrote memos, multiple memos, telling management about these connection concerns. He said he's been a quality engineer for a long time. He's a 40-year engineer, not always at Boeing, but has spent several years in this quality department. And he said that the connections between the parts of the fuselage of the 787 Dreamliner, that they don't fit together properly because the management and the company was putting together the aircraft in a way that didn't shim those pieces first, right? Didn't make the connections first, instead kind of forcing them together with what he says was tremendous force, and therefore getting inaccurate readings about how it needs to deal with the aircraft as it goes through the production line and finishes being assembled. Now, Senator Hawley went on to ask, well, are these planes safe, right? Because in an interview with NBC yesterday, Salehpour said that these planes should be grounded worldwide. And his answer to Senator Hawley was, well, it's like an earthquake. It's going to happen at some point. You just don't know when. He also likened it to a paperclip. If you manipulate it and you bend it around, that at some point, it's not going to break right away necessarily, but at some point, it's going to have a compromise there. Also, Boeing, on the other hand, saying that those claims are inaccurate. They said that these issues present no safety concerns. They said that they simulated 165,000 takeoffs and landings, so the plane getting pressurized and decompressurized 165,000 times in a testing environment, and they said they found no fatigue from those tests. Now, Salehpour contends during this hearing that those are muddied waters, that data is being represented in a way that's, he didn't use the word dishonest, but he said the way that Boeing is representing it is not quite accurate, because he said that the test plane, now the test plane was manufactured in 2010, that Boeing has undergone different manufacturing procedures for the 787 Dreamliner since then. But Boeing says, well, that 2010 environment for that aircraft, that was adequate. They say that the 980 planes that are now in service, that those were made using the same standards.
But just to make sure I understand, they just tested the one plane with all those pressurizations and depressurizations. They're not testing every single plane that they make with those criteria.
Right. For the testing aircraft. However, there's maintenance that goes on in the years following delivery to customers. So Boeing also contends that there have not been problems, fatigue problems with the planes that have undergone their regular service requirements. The separate hearing, you have to bring that in too to understand the full context of what went on today.
You're talking about that. This is another separate on Boeing's safety culture. I think we have a shot from that, if we could play it.
Yeah, go ahead.
They hear safety is our #1 priority. But what they see is that that's only true as long as your production milestones are met. And at that point, it's push it out the door as fast as you can.
Now, DeLuise, the MIT aviation engineer that you saw there, he and others on the panel, now they're part of a group within the FAA that oversees its oversight of Boeing. So what they said is after a long study, they found retaliation concerns that Boeing employees were worried about bringing their concerns about aircraft manufacturing forward to management. Also talking about the fact that there's no empowerment by those that are on the production line, that those are the mechanics, to stop the production line, that things are dealt with after the fact and not right away. So they said that should change. But they had a whole host of recommendations, including involving pilots early in the conversation, early in the design of these aircraft, in order to prevent these types of problems that Boeing now has had many of from happening.
Wow, fascinating stuff. Alexis, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Alexis.